So then, as we discussed yesterday, today we are going to hear from each other about what we have learned so far. And I think it's good to kind of summarize the teachings from each point of, from our own points of view. It will help all of us to see if we have missed anything, if we have misunderstood anything. Who would like to start?
Alright, so I made some points. I'll just go over them. So, in general, our goal is to develop the right view and transform our mind so we can become happier and suffer less. And we went through the Four Noble Truths, not necessarily in order, but that's what I have. The truth of suffering, the truth of the causes of suffering, which will be attachment, aversion, and ignorance. The cessation of suffering, we can let go of the suffering, and the right way, which is our way to actually remove the suffering, which is the Dharma. We talked about the types of suffering of change, suffering of suffering, and suffering of pervasive conditioning. And the 10 non-virtues, we'll talk about it later, which is basically all come from the three doors that we have, and the doors are the body, speech, and mind. Those will be all the 10 non-virtues, and for the body will be killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. Related to speech will be lying, divisive speech, harsh words, and idle talk. And the mind will be harmful intent, greed, and wrong view. So we need to not do those 10 non-virtues. That was the point of that. We talked about the rebirthing and the cycle of samsara and all of that. We don't have a lot of that because that's less for me. But we talked about the fact that human birth is the most precious birth. And it's the only birth and the only realm where we can actually practice Dharma. So we really need to take advantage of this birth and appreciate the fact that we are born here. And the only way for us to actually get enlightened is through this human birth, and we can, help other beings and ourselves. So in all the realms, we talk about karma, and karma accumulation with virtues, good virtues, and non-good virtues. And the fact that we can purify our bad karma with the four powers, which is reliance, regret, resolve, and remedy. And if we can find the way to purify the karma, and we know exactly what to do, and we actually embed those learning and make sure that we do that, we can then purify the karma and accumulate good karma. And then we continue talking about the true path and the path of the Mahayana vehicle. And the true path to actually become enlightened is the combination of practicing bodhicitta and the wisdom of emptiness. And they both go together. And practicing bodhicitta will help us to understand the wisdom of emptiness, and the wisdom of emptiness will probably also help us with the practice of bodhicitta. And bodhicitta is really to whatever I do, every action, and also my pursuit of becoming enlightened is to benefit all sentient beings, and all actions that I do is with the idea of benefiting all sentient beings. And I have a quote from the Shantideva book, The Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life, which I really like. All the happiness in the world comes from the desire to benefit others, and all suffering in this world comes from the wanting happier only for oneself. So it's not just the fact, for me, it's not just the fact that next life will have a good rebirth, it's also in this life I can become happier if I benefit others, and I'll suffer more if I only think about myself and only try to benefit myself. And how to generate bodhicitta? There are two ways to do that. One is to exchange ourselves with others, and really develop equanimity and understand the fact that all sentient beings want to be happy and want to remove suffering. So if we really understand that, it's easier for us to see everyone as equal in this desire, and hopefully treat others with more compassion and understanding and patience and so on. And the other way is the 7 precept of causes and fruit, which is essentially seeing all being as our mothers and develop the compassion to them as a result, and then all the actions will be that. Should I stop? I have a little bit more. And then we talked about the way for us, not the way, but the practice of bodhicitta is also related to the 6 perfections, which are generosity, ethics, forbearance, joyful effort, concentration, which is essentially shamatha and single point and concentration, and the practice of us of being able to concentrate and focus our mind, and like being able to control our mind, and wisdom, which is the wisdom of emptiness, and truly understand that. And they're all kind of a step for us to really become enlightened, and understanding truly the wisdom of emptiness. And I would say just that's kind of the end, but at the end, the wisdom of emptiness is really seeing the true reality as it is. And there are 2 realities, or two realities, one in the conventional reality, and the ultimate reality. So the conventional reality is what we all kind of see and basically agreed on. And the ultimate reality means that nothing exists objectively. And everything that we see or think that exists in the conventional reality is somewhat not true in the ultimate reality. Which to me, I mean, I understand a little bit conceptually, obviously not more than that, but it's a really great way to see everything and get some perspective in that. And to me, it helps also develop all the other things and be more patient and understand that really what I see, it's not fixed, and things are impermanent, and things are changing all the time, and everything. And for me, also the one of the things that I can relate to the most is the fact that we all have different concepts and different way to see things. So we don't all have the same views, and every views and every opinion is legit. But understanding that as part of emptiness is really helping me, in my path to basically become happier. That's it. Thanks.
Gishima got most of it, and she says there is no need for translation. And she says the fact that you have processed that much in the 15 days that we had together, it's really remarkable. And I think you have taken really good notes during the sessions, and I thank you for your attention. So these are the basic foundational practices that we can build upon. So this is it, and of course we can begin to elaborate on it by citing scriptural sources then bringing philosophical reasonings into it. But then, in a sense, this is it. This is the kind of foundational practices that we can try to inculcate in our lives. Yes. Sorry. 30 minutes more.
I've done through halfway through my notes and I still have to go halfway. Can I go back?
제가 30 minutes. So then the half that you're ready with, you can share it with us.
So for me also it started with this thing of how the teachings could transform the mind. From the first day on, like this was the thing which Vishma said on the first day, and I was like, this was like a way for me to go through the teaching, like how it will, like what ways we can transform the mind, and everything that followed were like the different tools which could be used to transform the mind. And I think being mindful and aware of in every movement was the way to go about it. And mindfulness of body, speech, and mind. How we can which leads to 10 non-virtues, and how can be used in daily life. And the story of Buddha was also was a good context, like a living context to this teaching. And then the four. I don't want to go through the four, like we did the four noble truth and what actually suffering means. It was a hard truth to know, like you're meant to suffer, but then there is a way up. Like suffering would be there, but we can see how we want to take it. Right? There's a way to perceive it. And the 5 endowments, like how, which after this, when we learned about the suffering and the type of suffering, then how we can work on it, and also how what it, like the precious human birth, and like how we can be grateful of whatever we have around us, and the importance of it, which can be very easily we can easily neglect that and not be aware of it, but to actually go deep down of what it means to be alive and to be alive in this human form. And also the importance of sharing our life with how we approach our life mentally, and sharing our problems with the community, and the purpose of belonging, which brings us so that we can live in the present. Like all these 3 things emphasizing on living in the helps us to live in the present and not to get out of it. And then the 6 perfections, and we went through that. Overall, not overall, but this is just half of it. But it's like right now I'm just taking it as like different tools which can be used to live mindfully.
뒤쪽으로 있나? 진짜 내 그런 게 당번에 내도 좀 많이 고아간데 조지라스나 내 놈이 아니 취를 했다. 내 냠내를 했지. 저들로 주어당하지 봐. 고 하고 선수. 아니 너 주어당하게다 되는만 신당한서다. 배정만 치료해. 이상만 너 주어당하다 탑도지가 아니 상고선수. 아니 저어디다 먼저 고송기 주바이라 딜라 아니 디스 템바다 시신고에 되게 침보에 도스 아니 내가 저기 간소 고안을 지차는 다 동인 연구에 어디 켈리 못었어. 디케말은 아니 그 뒤에 있는 동인의 라모일랜드 동인의 이 켈렌 체마도는 동네 체도 말았어. 데마스 데마시기 니 르바디나가 아니 다 동네 요르는 대zam다 아니 샤가이면도스라. 동네는 타르에 라미오르 탑시 요르스. 동네는 동네 체나 체당 요르스. 디세고 차이도스. 디게 네베 평고 총선스. 데는 밀르린치 먼저 대조 밀르린치가 돼. 삼는 남주는 들 코르게요 말았어. 순은 이샤샤 니지 시우시우 상당한 거라서 다 밀리른치라야 되니 대중 밀리른치라 대자ችን 부가즈에메 디 먼저라 믹스기 고급 가즈 뭐 되게메 근데 상당한 유리선 바니 순나야 아니 순보되나 되라니 된다 되는 미지 지고요 봐 아니 디세고레 소스 디제나 아니 맞게다 지도지는 되고요 나스라 아니 저기 지도는 대구에 그거 좀 생각하면 미 지도를 쓰고요 좀 생각하고 파주다 간이라요나 동네치에 아니 집나에 파주다 시에서 계제시에서 아니 지들이 주지 들어왔어 제가 네가서 저거 제주도 제가 지소소 동네로 다 간이 쇼칭 보이나 밀어 파시에 돼 시도 거치야 돼 계정 통소스 되게 아니 먼저 데레라 상담나 아니 뒤다다와라 샘디 뒤다다와라 내고요 마운드 데벌로 뭐 파트로드야미죠. 다다와데 데고바데 이케지 모임 버신소스. 대단한 애는 안쪽이다. 이 지소 버친 주소 나왔어. 소was. 다다와도 제가 말한 게 제일 지주다 같이 있어.
I want to add two more things. One
Yes.
is about different stories really helped me to understand it in the real context. And also learned the importance of carrying forward, like in every teaching we have, like the author credits everyone who has been part of, like the whole lineage. And I'm still processing this, like how I can do this in my life, like to not just like I'm not the only entity, but I can put on the like how we are all interconnected, and I have been like it's coming from some place. And also the meditations that we did were really helped to connect this teaching, like to contemplate on the teachings. Yeah, it was like here we would like do more of theory and all, and then in the meditation we would actually be with it, feel it, and practice the things. Especially like the analytical meditation that we did and breathing meditation.
근데 그런 게 선동계전이 신기주 신기도 와초소스라 지기들도 된다 그래서 그런 소단 먼저 되는 중망 오지 시나라 배다 중되는 망고시라 디에니 155 중소스 디스 고야가서야 된다디 리스나 샤야 엔테다냠도 아니 디나라 먼저 길어 공다 농망고 장면 거라 당보거라네 잠배양 네 정보공부 디디주니 저기 제가 디니 아디쇼 표를 될 디마스 보시는 좀 많이 추억이다 소소라 송주라 저저라 디주바드 레진데 디기어래 되지 디라니 semnal semzor chimbo chungsos ni sozola da di daga de ro songji toga de yara ni kongme no mejin top joji maimba dina shin sozo gi shena ya sozo gi yindu da chego maimba di juba de ne le kong de ne long de le yo di shego de keche bo tongsos ni tedanyam do pranzo gomje gi ji kugo yara ni odit pe pembo chungsos manzo de la kejaro mo shimangboda chudo mo mo chi yoras mozo bi gomje de zamba ni sem no lo 네 공 상무단이 그거 숙심보라는데스 디냠랭이 기초도 뭐네 타니 버차도스 아니 믹스기 그것도 제공되는 자기서 제공되게 배도 붙였었어
아니 디나마 지나면 가서 이거 좀 정말 디디디 스리트는 제가 되는 거야. 이 나로네 또 상담 지쇼지 이거나 상담도 대체서 담배 앞으로 정말이야. 이 단단한 것도 왜 써먹네 대신에 남는 연구도 배기도 자주 보다 되는 거라. 다디나로 나게 배도 비샤 맞아. 대구라는 거 자가 좀 쉬거든. 이제 이렇게 하면서 근데 언제야 정말 맞지 실수라. 이제
알았어. 네 줄거라 먼저.
그래.
알았어.
알려 어디?
So then, yes, now the 15 days that we are together, so if we, I'm sure like everybody has taken notes of each day's sessions, but then when you look at that kind of notes, 15 days worth of notes, then it's quite a lot of notes. So then I think this is very helpful to kind of summarize the notes themselves into something concise, as a summary of the teaching, so to say. So yeah, both of you have done a great job of summarizing it, summarizing the main things that we cannot afford to ignore. And I'm happy that these examples and the anecdotes that we shared have helped you to come to a better understanding of the teachings. And now the Song of Spiritual Experience itself is a very profound text, so we should not forget that the text we studied itself can reveal its meaning to us if we try to familiarize ourselves with the text itself constantly. Yes.
Thinking about my takeaways, I was focusing mostly on what I appreciate most. Others have and will summarize things better than me. So I would just, first thing that I appreciate so much is to learn from a true scholar and really go into details and clarify and strengthen understanding, as well as learning from the community, from each other, from spiritual friends, because all their discussions also open so many aspects and taught so much. So from both the great scholar and all the participants, they help so much to strengthen, increase my understanding, and boost my motivation and dedication to study, practice, serve, all that. So first point, thank you. Second, all the overview, the form that was given is for me quite precious because it helps to get wider perspective, helps to not get caught into micro particular situations, for example excitement or adverse situations, but remain stable. The wider perspective helps me to stabilize the motivation, attitude, view, anything through life, and to maintain virtuous mindset of you. I very much like also Geshe-la's homework recently when she recommended for 3 days to not focus on problems and what is wrong and what I don't like and similar things, but instead to focus on what we can appreciate and opportunities in similar. I think it's excellent practice, especially for my Western mindset, and this leads me also to another point, which is cultural learning, which I also love in language.
그런 게다 디네마 가르신 신송을 대상도 많이 봐 그런 게다 먼저 되는 맞춤을 있는 점도 디디좀 봐니 이면체 법에 차리는 것도서 디스보드 디신이라서 네 당보대니 송주니 슈사기니 기계니 በት 개바 뭐마시기지 신에는데 아니 주 얘기 그거라도 준에 아니 소소라 시에다 고도배기지 고도디가 니베 심바 가오충소스 지자니 상마다 아니 도시나기 있으라 대이 갈핑들라나 아니 소소기 상로디 디스자체도야 고농문이 유주디 띵사버도야 아니 직출라 니 냠내는 배준체고 사명이지 고농디가라 심슈 파마로 지키기도스 비타민이지 성주들이나 다 티나나 아니 성주는 조그란 게 이민지구에게 펜토버들을 가르쳐주는 아니 먼저 당번에 상문 지하친구 땅고에 베기지 버리도스라 상문 지하친구들 땅토나 아니 중세기 아니 디스뇽다라보다 간이 중세기 집에 수소가 감상 is mushroom 거야로다 sem 간이 숙성을 되게 말했어 디 생각서 부정소스 대단님도 기세다 먼저 냠내문에 지금 있는 공룡디 템포지 걸어왔어 공룡 템포지 레고에 아니 상문 지하친구 땅나 대다에 있는 골롱디가 니 템포레기레스 남산 심슈 차주주 잘 말했어 근데 되네 게시마기 가사님만 저가 아니 나래도 수도 니 갈롭지 나서서 아니 진짜 간이 잠다 아니 상만 보통 됐어 수소도 간이도 지금 거라 디스 나와 지부 쳐버렸어 아니 치가도 되게 쳐버려야 돼 니 고랑 왜 수부 정소스 그냥 농적이 상만당나데 디스 부수도 버려야 그랬어 아니 맞아 되게 간이 잠다 상만 손수 주디나라 치료도 나와 시시제나 보여는 손was 디셈 평고 총송스 근데 담아세 리숑기 차 기기 차라니 통한치에나 직시에 리코가 되는 왜 가오 총송스
You may find my summary quite similar to Vital's. I captured a bit more of the actionable parts of the learnings, the parts that I think would be more universal and less, that require less faith, things like karma, and cycles, etc. That was my intention coming into the class, was to have a bit more practical guidelines, essentially. Alright, so the first is to understand suffering and its causes. Understand that suffering is inevitable, and that acceptance of it is the medicine we should use most often. Suffering arises when we fail to accept or get attached to things. When our source of happiness is external, it becomes a source of suffering. And when it's motivated by greed, it causes suffering of others. Suffering arises from change, when something pleasurable is removed. Suffering also comes from essentially bodily suffering that begins at the time of your birth. And then suffering also arises from suffering itself and our reaction to suffering. Now, one of the antidotes is to take refuge in the three jewels, which is Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha, which is your spiritual community. And then the third step here is when you exercise a non-virtue, you should adopt the four powers, which is have a sense of regret for your non-virtuous actions, rely on the three jewels that I just mentioned, resolve to never do it again, and then remedy it with antidotes such as patience, depending on whatever defilement arose. And the next step, number 4, is practice Dharma by guarding the three doors, by always being mindful of what you act, speak, and think. And while you do so, you do it while perceiving the three poisons that you may be exercising, which is ignorance, aversion, and attachment. The next step is practice the 6 perfections, which is generosity, concentration, wisdom, forbearance, joyful effort, and morality. And then we stay away from the 10 non-virtues, which are essentially based on your body, speech, and mind. Things such as stealing, killing, sexual misconduct, lying, engaging in idle talk, divisive speech or harsh words, or being coveting, having harmful intentions, or harboring the wrong view of reality. And the next is to generate a bodhicitta mindset, which is essentially a radical acceptance of the fact that you and all sentient beings are equal, and that you should cherish all beings as you would yourself. And then the next would be to cultivate an intention so that all of these sentient beings overcome their suffering using 7 precepts of recognizing that all sentient beings as your mothers, recognize their kindness, repay their kindness, make these thoughts appealing to your mind, develop love and wish to see others happy, develop compassion, wish to see them free of suffering, and then be determined and act to help others liberate themselves from their suffering. And step number 9 here I have is to overcome laziness. You overcome your laziness by keeping an eye on how they manifest in your life through self-pity, procrastination, and engaging in meaningless things. And step 10 is to sharpen your mind by overcoming dullness, excitement, and distractions. And then finally, on liberation and wisdom. Liberation comes from compassion and wisdom. Wisdom is the supreme lamp that arises from concentration, and to achieve this we must strive for shamatha and vipassana. Vipassana being special insight that alongside a calm and focused mind. It's the clear and knowing nature of the mind, which reveals to you the understanding of emptiness, and that all things are empty of being truly established. Absolute objects don't exist, nothing is independent of others, everything exists in relationship to others. The mind has a tendency to label things as independent objects when their identity really is the sum of their parts. And that's it.
Kurangi shedita ni lidalgi shijodi ta tawada regres. Kurang dela ni thangone sungju dela charkoi ki kulung di kurang ne kayla ki tamazo mitsina la ke jora tinde roji ni sungju shue che linsra ni mitsina la muni kayla ji piji pa cheza ne chik teba gi chata tinde la phaman roji kayla ki ta mi chamma la ni penthoe jo tindigi samatam ani yoings chezan tambora ni dunye dingan zogi ni moezi yen la jira di ni kechim bore dosra ni dunye moezi ya ni kizi dunye moezi matuna ni ta dunye nyang di ro ni te kizi dunye ni moezi tuja ni dunye di da korang ni dunye gi rang shi ba di kelen tuna ni dunye la moelen che tu das moelen che tuna ni da kogi ju kar re do chen kar re do tila che ba che ko ba jira ras ani da di demba shi gi ni motre de ma tre mo dosra ani de ne ngazo gi dewa la ve de kesi ngazo gi chi chen chen ru go nas ra ani de dewa rang re gi mares da chi ge chi kona ne ru go nas ra dewa mo ne ji re gi mares ani ngazo gi ta chi chen ne dewa ru go na de la cha ba gi cha shu shin go re ani ngam gi cha shu shin go ti che zan ne ko du dewa rang chi re gi mares ta du la ni du ne ju ru res chezan dunye la ni juwa dhodi res ta kanzo ki dewa re sam chi yadaz mambu chi ni dunye chi mo la ju dhuyo res ni pena cha shana si ta kanzo ki dunye sum dhubu chi she ras kanzo ki ta chema thak do kowa nal kowa tsam chi ta chega na chi ki dunye ni dine dunye ki dunye dinde kola sum zas ni ta kisi ta theta we dunye zo ni kowa ki dunye la thar do nas dine tila chabe ni nyubati chamru sungula yores sanji shui gindu ti 디다 기타 럽자 아니 텐슈 텔 템포레스 디네 나조 니타 키시 타단다보도 니 레니 바사조 미디오를 주고든지 중요나스라 엔동이 디달라리안다 미도바치도스라 아니 나조기 간다 톱시 니보테네 니 샤바체고레스 니 톱시 디다 나조 텐지 톱 스윈진비 톱 아니 니보이 톱 텐디레스 조 그랑이다 기시다 나조기 라리안데 두니에 있는 양이 마드나스라 조 디만조기다 고숨기 줘버들라 고숨기 줘버들라 나조기 통한시고야 아니 패키지 버레스라 가인스나 아니 고숨기 줘버들라 아니 남주 아니 나조 두자신다 디모라 소고리 레나스라 그 아니 란시기 나조기 줘버들 동네 진실을 주고 그랬어 제성 고숨기 줘버들라 아니 다야 패키지 버레스 디제네 칼리가리 고숨기 줘버디 아니 나조기 미기와 줘도 뽕통나스라 데네 칼리가리 나조 진소 벌신 주고 나서거든요 냠네 치에두스 아니 디제라 나조기다 전주샘 라이저로스 저 전주샘 라이디 로디 데디기 굴론지 기적 제고에 베케치 모이바 통송스라 아니 테저의 굴론디 제고에나스라 당부 전주샘라나 칸데르둘라나스 아니 마다 아니 조아타다 지바레라 당부데 라 디와데가 돈이면데가 지바레스 대이나 아니 다 진지자 많이 봤으라 심지타다 아니 지버진 거가 길로데라 나이 전주샘다 했던 건지 지기였어 아니 대zam도 마셔 지버진 거 좀도 마셔는 있으라 전주샘 심발라야 되다 고바 중내라 발레랑나 중내 아니 심지타다 되다 아니 돈이 되다를 최 로직라 딘디지 제고레스 탈도다 근데네마 아니 중계면하기 주니 진제 그래서 전주샘 지수들의 송송스 아니 타디제라 아니 지금 저기 레로가다 송송스라 레로라에 대니 간데스가 저기 동네 쳐고요 봐 아니 당고 레로기 릭 미진나가 소소 레로 치여기 아니 레로 치여바디 간데스 뭐니르라나 삼삼 당이라니 거레스 아니 삼삼 아니 저와를 뒤슈 당하지라 뭐 장되데 디네 가시 저와니 시기 레로 처음이 줄 내가 레디해야 되는데 아니 디주 상관 레로 임방문지 치에디 생수 부초송스라 다 기지 아니 만조다 테더에 아니 디주 상모 공유 되나 아니 삼대에 되다 베케진 거리도스 셈바제 지금네 셈바 세자고야 셈라 댐자고야 돼 테더에 셈라 세자다 댐자고야 나스라 아니 만조기 셈 초주예요 말스 셈라 징와다 셈라 거바기 리치라 디조 칼리게도 포인트 다시 쳐버렸어 아니 기지 만조기 테더에 삼대 아니 세지기 삼대 디투나스라 되는 만조기 아니 시럽 두베기 남가디 얘기했어. 이 시럽 두베 남가디 땅 저기 시라 손대기 중에 이 시럽이 지기가 거의 하고 son스. 아니 삼대딩 아주 샤마다 신이랑체 시 아니 활동디 땅 저기 로이 제바치에 돼서. 아니 된담기 출라라 로이 제바치에 돼. 된담기 출라 로이 제바치니 신이다 아니면 송도 되나? 아니 동반이기 시럽래 도용 그랬어. 아니 또 동반이라는 가르를 돌았나스라 나저 또바이 봤다고선 유징원에 라면에 두고 매봐 대버 두고 매봐 아니 이나야 남주만 저기 대다의 시럽 메두 좀 봤으라 저기 타니에다 아니 유코랑 파투도야 아니 타니에데 독도도 어디 삼노당에 뭐 유코랑 아니 주제랑 맞는 독도지야 두비봐 대지를 삼고 거기 그랬어 대전에 저기다 차방 모습 되는 쇼츠부지기 그랬어 제자니 동이도 베시랍로 되서마 동반이라는 다가랑 했어. 근데 벌모도가 아니 당해점도 두바 또베빠바 유진원을 라면에 매봐. 아니 저기 독도직 지부하더라. 근데 독도직이 있었나요? 디요 말했어. 콜라 차지는 뭐 참고 동부지는 동부만 뭐 뒤지는 완전히 뒤지기가 좀 자주지. 뭐 된대로 집에서.
근데 되게 어머니 송사가 담당 어디 그런 데는 양이가 거라서 송사 아니 지나가는 tembu치 패키지 뭐 tembu치 어디 내려도 수요다 내가 부사사리라 로지도 다다 데데고 뭐라 카드는 장 직지라 뭐 저기 좀 뭐로 tembu치는 이미 좀 가서 장와인 아게 제 세기지라 შემ바디는 장 소셜랑 주의되는 대화는 chance pass nalu la shebe wada gila gidi suza adire marela di doni che ya do so na ya so to mai be shi ju ji ji da nzo ka ta ni to she de da pa nzo ye se ki che da ora de ye ko be ko to be ya so ni be ya ka san ga mai ni ju de la to ni do so de she ani zamza chance nyam do ani chin ji che ya zamza to ro shi ne zamza ji nzo le chen ko shi ne ka shi ne me the big temperature package moda ra desha sama to me kam driver la ora tem bid bid ora te te chana indi kam te sona de chung ha ko ya ko lesra mani chin da ye ge ga ta na ga ka de shi ha me de ne chana na la chik ta ko chung ta ko chung de ma son son sra te tu chi xue te nga ra ta chik le tu ye na chang za le pen to na lo jo ta to ni ta kan ji ma ni nga ra i te la ma de ge ge ni da ka ka de ra ni na pa na la ti ti te ni 되게 시간을 좀 상태로 주는 만들어 딱 그런 얘기도 딱 되게 지시고라 근데 그 더 좋은 사람 뒤에 나랑 제가 잡았다 되게 보지만 나 이제 아마 고만이 기억이 따로 싫어 되게 뭐 콘삼이 있거든 때라 근데 이제 좀 레스토랑 그러나 지시해지 아니 나가 아주 점점 지고 땅 걸래 내가 손가사 뒤에 점점 지도 어느 점이가 누구 냐가 내줘 봐라 점점 지고 땅 하고 jibu tang di nga la ya jibu tang da ma ki di ba sa me awu da ra di ja mo jibu tang ba tang ro ji to ba che ye di ba ru la ji ki chang ro to ra sa to ba je de chi na de mo da ani de mo ya ma ra ne ya ji na de ya ma che da ma shi na de ni ba ra da ce de mo su su ni ma ji ki di de le che da ya mo ja tang ani ka lo ta ji xin pe ya ka chen de ro ji ba bo ji ani mi su kan da ka le ga ya che ra de ne de ba ji sama cha sa 단다 코랑이 가요 라이브 대바다 마디오 거네를 인지미지 대바다 상당히 미지 되게 계신 거래라 가르스는 아주 대바다 모델로 오늘 기부지기 지기다 그라 코랑이 문에 되는 얘기하고 쇼 장사 되고 시주디 인쇄돼 되는 거 네가 봐라 디디잖아 네 가는 디디를 상만만 제대로 그러지 코랑이 이제 손도 배 칼로도 인쇄돼 버려 통스라 남들 동안 지금 이제 있는 세상에 단다 코랑이 마세기 지금 배 칼로 만데디 그래야 쇼쇼라 안디 제마 단다 시셔비 돼 그냥 소소 보는 거는 해야 나 너무 뭐 중요해는 아니 처음 가신 거야 하면 제발 버시는 거라 소소 이상도 이제 아니 올해 딱 한번 던전 대바스를 유나를 했다 출루 가를 유나에 소소 뒤 라마라 이내 양은 좀 미상무 제 나도 더 비, 담비가 대고 같이고 제 뒤처리네 나도 잡고 되고 야포친라 내고 대기신보다 안 되게 수도 패밀리가 있지라 슈 슬레티마데 라마슬레티마데 슈지난데 제가 이게 슈슈셔버라 다 조딩은 매하면 결라마 토지를 대바이나요 마우지를 대바이나요 대바 매니네 간다치 미리 미투선 사도 라 데이터가 아니 저 공조 비자부터 누구요 때 소수를 라디오라 근데 베기치 제 아니 영 단다 코라이 돈이다 되게 막 시행 거더라 돈이도 내가고 막 돈이도 가셔가다 딱 얘기 따위는 그냥 빼면 왜 하고 시세 되니까 저 돈만이 거 보여줘도 리더 근데 그 간대 많이 베기 전에 너무 좋아 다니 봐 샤바이 늦을 따라 소소를 베기 되게 하고 빼마시 베기다 그 저도 주문을 해서 너희 무슨 줄
Okay, so then I want to address the fact that Venerable Wangmula talked about how discussing and having dialogues with the group itself helped her to develop new perspectives, develop her understanding further. So I always try to create such an environment that can give rise to discussions and dialogues between the students who are participating in the courses that I teach. I always try to make everyone introduce themselves to the group. I always try to do this because I think this is very important. This is something that we forget as human beings who as human beings, it's important for us to interact with other human beings, and this interaction can serve to build harmony between different societies, different points of views. So it's very important to have discussions and dialogues with each other, not just listening to the teachings, because different points of views and looking at the same thing can give us better understanding about the teachings and anything in general. So I really appreciated it sometimes when I came to the classroom that you were discussing between yourselves about the teachings, and I really appreciated that. And so this is something that we need to take outside of these sessions too, not just here. So we need to be able to open ourselves to interact with people from different cultures, different points of views that we do not necessarily agree with, but always to engage in dialogue and discussions with people rather than resorting to just ignoring or neglecting people we do not agree with. So this is something that I always try to encourage, and I always try to create the environment for in my class. And then Venerable Mamula also told how the way that I taught and the teachings were effective. And now this is not because I am myself so capable of taking these classes, but it is in dependence on the kindness of the numerous different teachers that I had over the 20-odd years of my training, and in particular the teachers who gave me the teacher training workshop, which really gave me the tools to how to run a classroom, how to approach students. So yeah, it's not entirely because I myself am so capable of taking these classes, but it's because because I had a lot of teachers myself who gave me the tools and the teaching and the education that I needed to be able to come here to give you these teachings in an effective manner. And now, then you also talked about how my advice of not to think just only about our sufferings, but sometimes to enjoy ourselves a little bit, to kind of do the things that we enjoy a little bit. I say this because even though the nature of the suffering and the existence itself is explained to be suffering, but we did not come into the world to suffer. We did not come only for that purpose. So it's important to kind of do the things, pursue things that one enjoys from time to time. Otherwise, just contemplating on this nature of suffering doesn't really help anything. You need to do the things that you enjoy from time to time, and this is the reason why I told you that it's in the 3 days, 4 days that you have left together, try to do something that you enjoy together. Go out for dinner, go out for walks together. But this is not to say that always pursue pleasures, always pursue a sense of enjoyment all the time, because if we pursue that a little bit too much, then we begin to drink, then we begin to suffer as a consequence of that. It's important to kind of do it in a wise manner, in a balanced approach. It's very needed. And then regarding Shunya's sharing, then I generally got the impression that you pay really good attention in the classes, and then you really think really deeply about these teachings. And then your point about how you approach these teachings by separating it from the element of the faith and devotion that is normally attached to religious teachings is very important, because in this day and age, just faith and devotion doesn't make sense. We need to come to a secular understanding of how we live our lives. So this is the need of this day and age. So this is a very good approach, and it's a very reasonable approach too when we think about it. And I think this reasonable approach informs the way you try to come to an understanding of these teachings. And I think this is a very good approach to take, that you separate it from the prerequisite element of devotion and faith that is attached to religious teachings. Always try to approach it from a secular point of view, and always always try to approach it with a sense of reasoning or a sense of reasonableness. So this is good. And then now whether we say faith or whether we say reasoning, then it doesn't matter. In the end, we have to be a good human being. This is the most important thing. Saying that you have faith in such and such teacher who is like so famous and who is like considered a high lama. And if you yourself are not a good person, then it's pointless to have such a teacher. And then saying that you are a very empirical, reasonable man, and then if you're not a good human being, then it doesn't make sense. So in all instances, it's important to remind ourselves to be a good human being. This is the most important thing. And then, as you also talked about emptiness, then yes, emptiness is not something, as I already stressed, something that is easily understood. But this is a very good starting place to kind of build your emptiness, understanding of emptiness. You can try to read up on it, you can try to think about it on your own. And from here on, you can build a very good understanding of emptiness. To carry on that process of investigation. Thus. So I noticed that you take your notes in your phone, so I think this is a very smart move, because in this day and age we run everywhere with our phones. So anywhere we are, our phones are with us. So if we can take our notes in our phones, then we can refer to the notes anytime we want. Where else, if we write it in our books, and sometimes the book is closed, we never really open the books. This is not to say everyone should like write their notes in their phones, but I think it's a smart move. So we'll break for tea and gather again and continue with sharings.
Can I just share something about the emptiness? So, recommendations for further reading. This is recommended by Geshe Doji Dango. So there is a book by His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, How to See Yourself as You Really Are. It's supposed to be really good. And a text by Lama Sampaka, Illuminating the Intent. Both are really, really good about intent.
뭐 공부하러 없애려고 종합이 travel을 다니자.
Illuminating the intent.
여보신 게 도망치나?
네.